retreat number 4, the Dhammadina Vipassana Center. It's March the 8th, it's 2009. Venerable Vimalaramsi will be doing the talk tonight on the Majjhima Nikaya number 135, the Chula Kama Vibhanga Sutta, the Shorter Exposition of Action.
I thought it'd be fun if we found out what karma was like. So, thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living in Sawati in Jeta's Grove, Anathan Pandika's park. Then a Brahmin's son, Sabha, Todia's son, went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Blessed One, Master Gautama, what is the cause and condition why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? For people to be seen short-lived and long-lived, sickly and healthy, ugly and beautiful, uninfluential and influential, poor and wealthy, low-born and high-born, stupid and wise. What is the cause and condition, Master Gautama, why human beings are seen to be inferior and superior? Now, this is a very good answer, and it's very deep. You have to listen closely. Students, beings are owners of their actions, heirs of their actions. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have their actions as their refuge. It is action that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. I do not understand in detail the meaning of Master Gautama's statement, which he spoke in brief without expounding the meaning in detail. It would be good if Master Gautama would teach me the Dhamma so that I might understand in detail the meaning of Master Gautama's statement. Now, quite often somebody would ask the Buddha a question and he would give them a short answer. And unless they ask him to give the answer in more detail, he would get up and walk away and go to his room. And it happens a lot in the suttas that the monks would ask a question, the Buddha would give a short answer and get up and walk away, and then the monks went, but I don't understand that. And they would go to another monk and ask him to tell them what the long answer was. And then they would be scolded for not asking the Buddha. And then he would give them the long answer. Anyway. Then listen, student, and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, sir, the Brahmin student Sabha replied. The Blessed One said this, Here, student, some man or woman kills living beings and is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. Because of performing and undertaking such action, on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a state of deprivation, in an unhappy destination, in perdition, even in hell. But if on the dissolution of the body after death he does not reappear in a state of deprivation in any or an unhappy destination, but instead comes back to the human state, whenever he is reborn, he is short-lived. This is the way, student, that leads to short life. namely, one kills living beings, is murderous, bloody-handed, given to blows and violence, merciless to living beings. But here, student, some man or woman, abandoning the killing of living beings, abstains from killing living beings. With rod and weapon laid aside, gentle and kindly, he abides compassionate to all living beings. Because of performing and undertaking such action, on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a happy destination, even in a heavenly world. But if on the dissolution of the body after death, he does not reappear in a happy destination in a heavenly world, but instead comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is long-lived. This is the way, student, that leads to long life, namely abandoning and killing living beings. One abstains from killing living beings with rod and weapon laid aside, gentle, kindly. One abides compassionate to all living beings. Now you think about this for a little while, and you think there are a lot of babies that are born that die very quickly. And a lot of people are really distraught at that. And they wonder why this happens. And they come up with all kinds of different kinds of philosophies. Oh, God wanted him back and things like that. But the reason that people don't live as long as they could is because in the past they killed other beings. My mother lived to be 92. What would you think about that? And your father lived to be 92. A long life. Why did they have a long life? Because in the past they were kind. They didn't kill living beings. So the karma is, it's a very just system, if you can call it that. It works on its own. And because of past action, things arise as they should. So, here, student, some man or woman is given to injuring beings with a hand, with a clod, with a stick, with a knife. Because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is sickly. This is the way, student, that leads to sickliness. Namely, one is given to injuring beings with a hand, with a clod, with a stick, with a knife. But here, student, some man or woman is not given to injuring beings with a hand, with a clod, with a stick, or a knife. Because of performing and undertaking such action on the dissolution of the body after death, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is healthy. This is the way, student, that leads to health. Namely, one is not given to injuring beings with a hand, with a clod, with a stick, with a knife. Here, student, some man or woman is an angry, irritable character. Even when criticized a little, he is offended, becomes angry, hostile, and resentful, and displays anger, hate, and bitterness. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is ugly. This is the way, student, that leads to ugliness. Namely, one is an angry, irritable character and displays anger, hate, and bitterness. If you've ever been around anybody that's angry and you look at their face, you see that their face is really not very nice. And it can even have black tinges if the anger is strong enough. So, if a person is given to anger and cursing and always complaining that other people are not nice and that sort of thing, then you start taking on those characteristics with your face and your body. Your body can be deformed because of this kind of thing. But here, student, some man or woman is not an angry or irritable character. Even when criticized a lot, he is not offended. He does not become angry, hostile, and resentful, and does not display anger, hate, and bitterness. Because of performing such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is beautiful. This is the way, student, that leads to being beautiful. Namely, one is not an angry and irritable character and does not display anger, hatred, and bitterness. Now, I'm teaching you loving-kindness meditation. One of the advantages of practicing loving-kindness meditation is that your face becomes very beautiful, radiant. There's 11 advantages for practicing loving-kindness meditation. Let me see if I can remember them. You go to sleep easily. You sleep very soundly. And you wake up without a groggy mind. You wake up very alert and very bright. You have pleasant dreams. Now, when it comes to dreams, while you're still working with your meditation, you can start having dreams on the retreat. You can radiate loving kindness while you're in your dream, and that will change an unpleasant dream into a very pleasant dream. Now, when I get ready to go to bed, I'll lie down on my back for a little while and just relax my body. And because in the suttas it says that monks sleep on their right side, I experimented with sleeping on the left side, and I found that there was pressure against the heart and it was hard to breathe. I sleep on the right side and it's open and very easy to breathe. When I turn over on my right side, within 10 seconds, I'm asleep. I don't wake up in the middle of the night wondering, well, what is this? I don't toss and turn. I sleep very soundly, very easily. When it's time to wake up, or if somebody comes in and starts talking to me, I will be awake. Now, by practicing this meditation, it leads to that. And there's an awful lot of people in Missouri that they complain about not being able to sleep. So I start teaching loving-kindness meditation to them, and all of a sudden it's much easier. So it's a real interesting phenomena. I tease people sometimes. I say I toss and turn for a good 5-10 seconds before I go to sleep. Now, if you go to sleep with an agitated mind, how often do you wake up during the night not really happy? And it's hard to go back to sleep. What's the cause of that? An agitated mind. Not a mind that has loving kindness in it. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you have trouble going back to sleep, then practice your loving kindness lightly. And you'll go back to sleep very nicely, easily. Now, another advantage of this meditation is that animals like you. And I went to a monastery where there was 2 monks that they had just become ordained and they were there by themselves. They didn't have a teacher. And they were showing me around their monastery, and they had a little dog. And I like little dogs. I like big dogs. I like any dogs. It doesn't matter. So I reached down and I started petting the little dog, and he started snapping at me. And I went, whoa, okay. And I radiated loving kindness to the dog. And one of the monks said, "That's a female dog. You're not supposed to touch females." And I said, "That means human beings. It doesn't mean animals." So they were showing me around, and we had to walk by this one place that there was a rock about this high. And as I walked right beside the rock, the dog jumped up, and as I walked by, licked my hands. Animals like you. They feel at ease. If you don't have any fear of an animal, then they will not be aggressive towards you. For the most part. I can remember one that was not so nice even after I radiated loving kindness to him, but well, that sort of thing happens. Human beings like you. Why? Because you have a pleasant expression on your face. They hear that you have loving speech and you're kind. You don't have anger and dissatisfaction and dislike. When I had my own business, I had a mirror sitting on the desk. And anytime the phone rang, I would pick up the phone and look in the mirror to see whether I was smiling or not. If I wasn't smiling, I would smile. And that smile goes right through the phone. There's no doubt about it. It goes right through, and the other people feel that. And I was getting things like wrong numbers, and they would talk for 10 or 15 minutes just because they felt good. So the more you smile, the more people feel at ease around you. Now some people say, but it feels like it's a forced smile. At first it can be. It doesn't matter. It still has a positive effect on your mind. So the more you can smile while you're doing your daily activities, while you see other people, the easier life becomes. So this is one of the real advantages of doing this kind of meditation. People like you. Devas protect you. Devas are heavenly beings. And the devas will... Well, I was getting on a bus when I was in Chiang Mai, and I saw a friend. So I stopped and I started talking to the friend, and the bus left. And that was not much of a big deal, and my friend left. I got on the next bus. We were going down the road. The bus that I would have been on had an accident, and it really hurt some people. Now in Thailand, they insist that monks ride in the front seat. If I would have been there, there would have been a piece of wood go right through me. But the devas kind of protected me from getting on that bus. They stopped me from getting on that bus. I got on the next one, had no problem after that. How do you confirm that it was devas? I can't. But I know that that's what happened. So. Now the next advantage of practicing loving kindness, I'm not real interested in testing to see whether it's true or not. It says that when you practice loving kindness, fire and poisons and weapons will not harm you. And I'm not wild about finding out whether that's true or not. I don't want to be in a burning building. I don't want somebody to give me poison to see whether it really is going to work or not. So we'll let that one slide. When you practice loving kindness, this is such a good meditation that your progress in meditation is faster with this kind of meditation than it is with any other kind of meditation. As you're starting to see for yourselves, you're seeing that you progress really fast when you practice loving kindness. Now, when I tell people I want you to switch over and not do loving kindness but do mindfulness or breathing, I still insist that you smile. And that helps uplift your mind. So it's kind of a mindfulness of breathing metta, a little bit. And your progress is always better when you're smiling and when you have a sense of humor about yourself. When you can laugh at yourself for getting caught. Laugh at yourself for being angry. Laugh at yourself for being frustrated or depressed. And that's the hardest thing to do when you start getting depressed, is to laugh. But when you laugh, you change your perspective of what's happening in the present moment. It goes from I'm mad and I don't like it to it's only anger. What's that? I don't need to be angry now. Let it go. Now, one of the beauties of practicing the 6 R's is that it helps remind you to go back with an uplifted mind. Now the 6 R's and the 4 right efforts are the same thing. You have an unwholesome, you recognize that you have an unwholesome thought or feeling. You let go of that unwholesome feeling or thought and relax. You smile and bring up a wholesome object, your object of meditation, and you continue on. You keep that object of meditation as long as you can. That's the 6 R's. Recognize, release, relax, and the relax step can't be talked about enough. Re-smile, return to your object of meditation, repeat, continue doing the same thing. The relax step is absolutely necessary. Now, some people are telling me that they're letting go and coming back to the object of meditation, and quite often I say, no, that's not right. You forgot something in the middle there, and that is the relax step. If you don't add the relax step, you're bringing that craving back to your object of meditation. And you're changing your meditation from serenity and insight or tranquility meditation to one-pointed absorption concentration. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, if you practice one-pointed concentration, absorption concentration, the force of the concentration becomes so strong that it suppresses the hindrances. And a lot of people say, well, that's really good. You don't have any hindrances coming up. But the hindrances are where your attachments are. So you're suppressing the hindrances while you have good concentration. And then you get out of that concentration, and these hindrances come knocking at your door. And you're not able to recognize them, you just get caught in them. Now, when you start practicing with this extra little step of relaxation, it changes the meditation so your concentration doesn't go quite as deep. And when your mindfulness slips a little bit, guess who comes to see you? A hindrance. Now, it's not bad that a hindrance arises. The hindrances are not your enemy. They're not someone to fight with. The hindrances are your teacher. They're teaching you where you have an attachment. What is the attachment? I am that. I am restless. I am planning. I am whatever the hindrance has to be. I am mad. I want. I'm dull. I don't know. Those are all the hindrances. And they all have an I in them. When you let go of that, or relax that with that extra step, and you let go of that tension and tightness that rises in your mind and in your body, you have a pure mind. You have a mind that doesn't have any hindrance in it. You have a mind that doesn't have any craving in it. And in that way, your mind is very pure. Now you bring that mind back to your object of meditation. And the hindrance comes up again. And you work with that hindrance, letting it be, relaxing, smiling, coming back to your object of meditation, staying with your meditation as much as you can. And that hindrance pulls you away again. Every time you let go of that hindrance and relax and come back to your object of meditation, it is improving your mindfulness. Your mindfulness is your observation power. Your mindfulness is a thing that notices what's happening in the present moment. So making your mindfulness stronger helps you to overcome the hindrance more quickly, more easily. And when you let go of the hindrance, what happens after that? You go deeper into your meditation. You haven't got it obstructing you anymore. You haven't got it pulling you away. It just lets go by itself. And you start gaining more and more balance in your practice. The whole point of loving kindness meditation is learning how to lovingly accept whatever arises in the present moment. The more you can actually accept restlessness when it comes up, without fighting it, without holding on to it tightly. The tighter you hold on to restlessness, the more suffering you cause yourself. That's why with the instructions of loving kindness, I tell you, when a sensation arises in your body, that's always a good one. You get a pain in your knee or a pain in your back, or you start itching. The first thing you'll start doing, your mind will start doing, is start thinking about it. Boy, I hate it when this happens. I really don't like that feeling. Why doesn't it just go away and leave me alone? Every thought about the sensation makes the sensation bigger and more intense, until it turns into an emergency. And then you can't stand it and you have to change your posture or whatever. But the instructions in the meditation say, do not move. Oh no. So what are we supposed to do with that? You notice that you're thinking about that sensation, you let those thoughts go and relax. Now you notice that tight mental fist wrapped around that sensation. I don't like that sensation, I don't want it to be there. That's aversion. Now the truth is, when a hindrance arises, it's there. Pretty profound, isn't it? So, whatever you do with what arises in the present moment dictates what happens in the future. You want to fight with that? You want to try to change it? You want it to be different than it is? You can look forward to that coming up over and over again. Or you can try a new approach. And that is, let go of that tight mental fist around it and accept the fact that that's there. And it's all right for it to be there. It has to be all right, because it's the truth. It's the Dhamma, right in front of your eyes. So you allow the Dhamma to be whatever it's going to be. If it's an itch, if it's a restlessness, if it's anxiety, if it's dislike, whatever it happens to be, you allow the space for it to be there without trying to change it. Too many people try to use the loving kindness as a stick to beat things down so they won't bother you. It doesn't work. Right? So, instead of trying to make it any different than it is, allow the space for it to be the way it is, but don't keep your attention on it. And then relax, and then smile, and come back to your object of meditation. Now you're going to bounce back and forth, especially if it's a big hindrance or it's a big sensation. And one of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to go away or it's not. If it goes away, then you come back to your object of meditation and you feel relief and you go on with your meditation. If it doesn't go away, your equanimity becomes so strong that it doesn't pull your mind to it. And then you just let it be there by itself, and it will fade away by itself from lack of feeding it. What do you feed it with? Your attention. If you keep your attention on it, you can better believe it's going to keep going. It's going to cause all kinds of pain and suffering. But when you just allow it to be there, if it doesn't pull your mind to it, you stay with your object of meditation. It will fade away by itself. Another advantage of practicing loving-kindness meditation is that when it's time for you to die, you will die with a very peaceful mind. If you don't go any further with your meditation and attain Nibbana, then you will be reborn in a very pleasant heavenly realm of some sort. So there's a lot of advantages to practicing loving-kindness meditation. And it makes your face beautiful. I mean, before everybody left a couple days ago, looking around the room at all the, what was it, 19 or 20 people here, their faces, everybody's face was radiant. I mean, we could have turned the lights out. We didn't need any lights. Everybody's face was just absolutely beautiful. I used to kid people in Malaysia and tell them, you know, if I could bottle this stuff, I'd be one rich monk. So you want to be more beautiful? Smile more. Laugh more. Be happy. Wish other people happiness. The first part of meditation is practicing your generosity. How do you practice your generosity? You practice your generosity with your speech. You practice generosity with your actions. You practice generosity with your mind. You can't give something away that you don't have. When you're practicing loving kindness, you make a wish for happiness and bring that feeling of that wish into your own heart and feel it yourself. Then you can give it away. Now, we're talking about karma, and we're talking about making merit, doing good actions. Now, one of the highest ways that you can practice meditation and get good results is through loving-kindness meditation. In one of Mahasi Sayadaw's book, and I have no idea how he figured this out, so don't ask me, he said that doing loving-kindness meditation one time a day for 30 minutes is equivalent in merit to feeding 3,000 people a day. That give you an idea of what you're doing here? How much good merit do you make? Every day we share merit with all beings. We share all of this good feeling with everybody. So we're really doing a major good thing. Not just a little good thing, a major good thing by practicing loving kindness. Okay. Here, students, some man or woman is envious, one who envies, resents, and begrudges the gain, honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is uninfluential. You can be right all day, but you won't have any influence to convince other people that what you're saying is true. And that comes from being envious and wishing somebody else didn't have that kind of honor and renown. But here, students, some man or woman is not envious, One does not envy, resent, begrudge the gain, honor, respect, reverence, salutations, and veneration received by others. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is influential. This is the way, student, that leads to being influential, naming not being envious towards the gain, honor, respect, reverence, veneration, and salutations received by others. Here, student, some man or woman does not give food, drink, clothing, carriages, garlands, scents, unguents, beds, dwellings, and lamps to recluses or Brahmins. Now basically what this is supplying the requisites for the monks. The requisites are food, clothing, robes, a place to stay, and medicine when it's needed. You make a huge amount of merit when you help support a monk in this way. That merit comes back to you in all kinds of fun ways. Now the thing with generosity is that what you give, you get. Now think about this. Why are you in this country at this time? There's abundant food. There's richness that's unbelievable. Why are you here and not in Bangladesh or in Africa, where the suffering is so great, or in India? Because in the past you gave food and clothing and shelter and medicine. You shared that. And that's why you're here now. You're in an incredibly rich country. Okay, there's economic stuff that's happening right now. That doesn't take away from the richness. Now, in the Eightfold Path, the first part of the Eightfold Path is, they call it right understanding or right view. I call it harmonious perspective. The harmonious perspective is the view that everything that arises in your mind and in your body is impersonal. You don't have any control over it. You can sit there and all of a sudden you have an itch. Did you ask that itch to come up? Did you say, you know, I haven't had any itches for a long time, I might as well have one now? No, it came up by itself. Again, what you do with what arises in the present moment dictates what happens in the future. This is karma. If you resist what's happening in the present moment, if you don't like what's happening in the present moment, if you try to change what the present moment is, you can look forward to having the same kind of situation come up over and over and over again until you learn that this is part of an impersonal process and you let it go. You let it be. You relax into it. The second factor of the Eightfold Path is called right thought, and I really don't like that definition. I call it harmonious imaging. Okay? You have images in your mind. I don't like this. What are you imaging? Something negative. You hold a positive image in your mind, and all of a sudden magical things start to happen. You hold the image in your mind, I'm broke. What's going to happen? You're going to stay broke. I'm poor. What's going to happen? You're going to stay poor. Why? Because you're holding that image in your mind. You hold your image of dissatisfaction in your mind. The thing you're dissatisfied with is going to continue. You start holding positive images in your mind. You start holding uplifting, wholesome images in your mind. And then wholesome things and prosperity will start to come to you. You're worried about this or that. What kind of an image are you holding in your mind? Negative. So what's going to happen? Negative things are going to come happen for you. You hold a positive image in your mind. You hold happiness in your mind. You hold generosity and giving your smile and your good feeling to other people, instead of worry and anxiety and depression. What's going to happen? Prosperity in all kinds of ways is going to be rushing to you. The universe wants to give you what you want. And when you entertain negative images, that's what you're going to get. And when you entertain positive images, that's what you're going to get. It doesn't always come in your time frame, but it'll come. Holding a negative image about this and a positive image about that cancels each other out. So then you're floating and you go, well, nothing seems to be changing, nothing seems to be getting better. Well, let go of that negative image and develop that positive image. Right now in this country, there's a lot of fear and anxiety. And you can pick that up from people just by walking through a store. Oh, everything is so expensive. I have scolded some of the people that go to the store when they start complaining about the cost of food. Don't do that. What kind of an image are you causing to arise? What kind of thing are you manifesting for yourself? The universe wants to give you what you want. When you talk about how expensive everything is going to keep being expensive. Things change. There is good economic times, there's bad economic times. But it doesn't matter. If you hold a positive image, you will have positive things happening for you. When you wish other people well, stand in a store sometime, in a grocery store, and listen for the little kids that are crying and unhappy and the mother is scolding them. Go over to them and start radiating loving kindness. That little baby just loves that. They will start to settle down and feel very much at ease. And they'll start smiling, and all of a sudden the mom is going, hey, this is good. I like this. Thank you. So how are you affecting the world around you by your imaging? So, we want to try to hold positive images as much as we can and not be envious of other people's prosperity. Their prosperity, it's great for people to be prosperous. What they do with their prosperity is up to them. But be happy for them. then you will start to gain more and more influence with the people around you when you're holding this positive image. Here, student, some man or woman does not give food, clothing, drink, carriages, beds, dwellings, and lamps to recluses or Brahmins. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is poor. So you don't practice your generosity, you don't help, and you'll be reborn poor. Or you might be poor now, because money will seem like you just can't hold on to it. It just slides through your fingers. This is the way, student, that leads to poverty. Namely, one does not give food and lamps to recluses and Brahmins. But it's not only recluses and Brahmins, it's to everybody around you. When I was at a meditation center, I used to, anytime I would bite into a piece of fruit and it was particularly good, I used to go around looking for somebody to give it to. They started going, you know, every time you give me a piece of fruit, it's really good. And I say, yeah, I want to give you the best. Then their mouths started watering when they see me coming. So I had an apple in my hand and oh boy, I got a treat coming now. But it was fun. It's fun to share, especially food. Now the Buddha said, if you saw the advantage of sharing food, you would never eat alone. You would always share your food with somebody else. Why are you born in a country that has so much food? Because in the past you shared your food. Continue sharing with everybody around you as much as you can. It's one of the things that makes life fun. It makes everything into a game. It's great. And that leads to a happy, contented mind. Practicing your generosity. When you practice your generosity, even when you're giving food, there's 3 things that you want to do for sure. Prepare your gift with a happy mind. Give your gift with a happy mind. And after giving your gift, reflect on how much fun it was with a happy mind. You're developing new kinds of images when you do that, and they always come back. But here, students, some man or woman gives food and lamps to recluses and Brahmins. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is wealthy. You want to be rich? You want to be prosperous? You got to share. You got to practice your generosity. And do it in fun ways. As much as you can. This is the way, student, that leads to wealth, namely one gives food and lamps to recluses and Brahmins. Here, student, some man or woman is obstinate and arrogant. He does not pay homage to one who should receive homage, does not rise up for one in whose presence he should rise up, does not offer a seat to one who deserves a seat, does not make way for one for whom he should make way, does not honor, respect, revere, and venerate one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is low-born. This is how students, this is the way that leads to low birth. Namely, one is obstinate and arrogant, and does not honor, respect, revere, and venerate one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. But here, students, some man or woman is not obstinate and arrogant. He pays homage to one who should receive homage, raises up for one in whose presence you should raise up, offers a seat to one who deserves a seat. A story. I was in Sri Lanka, and I was riding a bus, and there was a pregnant lady sitting on the bus, and it was a pretty full bus, so I was standing, and she got up and told me I had to take her place. Wow. Amazing. She had so much respect for the Sangha. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is highborn. This is the way, student, that leads to high birth. Namely, one is not obstinate and arrogant, and honor, respect, reveres, and venerates one who should be honored, respected, revered, and venerated. I have to tell you, I felt guilty sitting down. But she insisted, so what could I do? Here, students, some man or woman, when visiting a recluse or Brahmin, does not ask, Venerable Sir, what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what is blamable, what is blameless, what should be cultivated, what should not be cultivated, what kind of action will lead to my harm and suffering for a long time, what kind of action will lead to my harm, my welfare and happiness for a long time. Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a state of deprivation. But if instead he comes back to this human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is stupid. This is the way, student, that leads to stupidity. Namely, one does not visit a recluse or Brahmin and ask such questions. Here, student, a man or a woman, when visiting recluses or Brahmins, asks, Venerable Sir, what is wholesome? What kind of action will lead to my welfare and happiness for a long time? Because of performing and undertaking such action, he reappears in a happy destination. But if instead he comes back to the human state, then wherever he is reborn, he is wise. I was the attendant for Venerable Usilananda, who is a very famous monk in Burma, and very, very intelligent. And I was asking him questions about everything. For 2 years, I'm asking him, every day I'm asking him 10, 15, 20 questions. And one day he stopped and he said, you know, when you're reborn, you're going to be smarter than Einstein. And as karma will have it, I seem to have students that always come up to me and say, can I ask you a question? And I told one student in particular, I won't name any names, that I was going to put that on her gravestone when she died. Excuse me, I have a question. Can I ask a question? So that was my karma for asking so many questions. I get students that ask questions all the time. Thus, student, the way that leads to short life makes people short-lived. The way that leads to long life makes people long-lived. The way that leads to sickliness makes people sickly. The way that leads to health makes people healthy. The way that leads to ugliness makes people ugly. The way that leads to being beautiful makes people beautiful. The way that leads to being uninfluential makes people uninfluential. The way that leads to being influential makes people influential. The way that leads to poverty makes people poor. The way that leads to health makes people wealthy. Or wealth makes people wealthy. The way that leads to low birth makes people low born. The way that leads to high birth makes people high born. The way that leads to stupidity makes people stupid. The way that leads to wisdom makes people wise. Beings are owners of their action, student. Heirs to their action. They originate from their actions, are bound to their actions, have actions as their refuge. It is actions that distinguishes beings as inferior and superior. When this was said, the Brahmana student Sabha, Todia's son, said to the Blessed One, Magnificent Master Gotama, magnificent. Master Gotama has made the Dhamma clear in many ways, as though he were turning upright what had been overturned, revealing what was hidden, showing the way to one who was lost, or holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyesight to see forms. I go to Master Gotama for refuge, and to the Dhamma and Sangha of monks. Let Master Gotama remember me as a lay follower who has gone to him for refuge for life. So actions, your karma, is the thing that dictates whether you have a successful life or an unsuccessful life, whether it's influential or uninfluential. Because of the way the Buddha teaches meditation and stresses your generosity in all different kinds of ways, when you practice your generosity, it opens your mind up. When you practice your niggardliness and your stinginess, it closes your mind down. When you practice being stingy, nobody will help you and be generous with you. So you practice your generosity with your speech, with your thoughts, with your actions. You practice giving in all kinds of different ways, doing things that make other people smile. You affect the world around you. It's your choice how you want to affect that world. You want to affect that world with anger? You can do that. But anger gets thrown back at you. You want to affect the world with love? You can do that. And love comes back to you. There's times that I can be sitting, not meditating, just sitting, maybe reading or doing something, and I feel rushes of love coming to me. And sometimes it's like a hot flash. All of a sudden I'll break out in a sweat. And I feel all of this metta coming. Of course I bounce it back to him, whoever's doing it. But it's really nice. It really helps my mind be uplifted. But you have to give before you get. So the more you give loving kindness, the more loving kindness will come back to you. Now, finding out that if you don't ask any questions, you're going to be reborn stupid. Does anybody? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Does anybody have any question? Okay? Then let's share some merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we've thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.